Hi, this is Shannon. This is Cycle 2, Week 5, Tutor and Memory Work Ideas. I am excited to share with you some fun ideas you can use this week as a tutor in your homeschool group or at home or a combo, and I hope these are really helpful for you. If you are new to my channel, I am a homeschooling mom of 3 little ones, 6, 4, and 2, and we do classical homeschooling and absolutely love it, and I get to tutor the Abecedarians, so that's the 4 through 7 year olds in our homeschool group, and I love it, love sharing my ideas. So first, I want to quickly show you some resources I've made that you can use at home with your kids to just supplement as you move through Cycle 2 this year. So the first one is the Cycle 2 Memory Work Activity Book. If you haven't seen it, this has a fun, simple activity that goes along with each subject's memory work for all 24 weeks. So my girls have been really enjoying doing an activity each day. So they'll do the history activity when we learn about history, and they'll do the science activity for science, geography, etc. I'll show you my daughter today. We were talking about the Magna Carta because we're on week 4 at home right now. And so she did this activity related to the Magna Carta memory work. So I will link below where you can find all these. Also, if you haven't seen it, I have a European countries workbook that's a really fun way to dive deeper into Europe this year as we focus heavily on Europe and geography. I'll show you this week, my daughter did Austria, so we found Austria on the big felt Europe map behind me, and we learned more about Austria. I don't try to align this with the Cycle 2 memory work per se. We just learn about a new country or two each week as we're able, and it's just a fun way to learn more about Europe. Also, these placemats are new. You may have seen them or not, but I am making placemats for each week of Cycle 2. So I have the first 6 weeks done. This is the one we did this week. This is week 4, so I have history on one side and science on the other, and it's just a really helpful way to dive a little bit deeper into the history and science topics. And the last thing I'll show you are these geography passports. We've been using these as we learn the geography each week. So for example, on Monday we did geography week 4, so the European rivers. And so once we had those down, my daughter stamped her passport, and I have stamps that fit little circular labels. So it's just been fun for them to put a little sticker on each page as they learn the geography memory work. So just some fun things you can use at home to supplement the Cycle 2 stuff that we're learning about. Also, make sure you stick around to the end of my video because I have some more fun free games that you can do with your kids this week at home to just dive deeper into the memory work and practice it with them at home. I have a fun science game and a Latin endings bingo game, so I will share those at the end and where you can get those for free. So now for the tutor plans. We are going to start today with geography. Like I've said before, I really like starting with geography. I use these Trivium table maps, but you can also just print some maps from the Sandbox eZine and CC Connected and laminate them if you want, or not. You know, you can keep it really simple. But I use these. These are from the Classical Conversations bookstore if you want to look into it. And I just put a dot on each of the European cities we are learning about. So I have an orange dot on London, red on Paris, purple on Orléans, blue on Rome, and green on Barcelona. Just because I have younger kids, I like to actually mark their maps, and I do that before, our community day. Then for geography, so I'm going to hand these maps out to each kid, and then I have these little Lego figures that I actually found at the dollar store. You can see they come in packs of 3. I got them a couple months ago, so I don't know if they're still there, but if they are, they're really cheap and just a great thing to use to point to the cities on our map, because we're going to go on a little exploration with our little man here. So first we're going to start our little Lego man in London, where he's going to ride a red bus in London town and go up the hill and down, up the hill and down, London, up and down like London. And then we're going to go to Paris, and we see a huge, beautiful Ferris wheel in Paris. So Ferris, Paris, think Ferris wheel. Then we're going to go down to the blue dot, Rome in Italy, and we see the Colosseum dome in Rome. So think dome, Rome. Then we're going to travel down to Barcelona where we get kind of hot and we want an ice cream cone. So think cone, Barcelona, cone. Then we're going to travel up to Orleans, the purple dot, where Joan of Arc was really brave, trusting God's strength that God would save the French. So think Joan of Arc, Orleans, Joan, Orleans. So those are just some fun things you can say, the little person does in each city to kind of help the kids remember. So again, in London, the bus goes up and down, London, up and down, London. Then in Paris, we see a Ferris wheel. Then in Rome, we see the Colosseum dome. Then in Barcelona, we have an ice cream cone, Barcelona cone. And then Orleans, we think of Joan of Arc, Joan, Orleans. So you can use those or not, but regardless, it's fun to have a little person or a little figurine jump to city to help the kids learn. We're also going to sing a song to the tune Row, Row, Row Your Boat, and it goes like this. European cities, London, Paris, Rome, Barcelona, Orleans. European cities, London, Paris, Rome, Barcelona, Orleans. So we'll sing that a few times. Then I like to ask the kids, what city had the Ferris wheel? Ferris, Paris, cool. What color was that city? Red, all right. What city did we get an ice cream cone in? Barcelona, cone, Barcelona. Yeah. All right, so that's geography. For English, we are continuing with our pronouns. So we will continue with our song to the tune Here We Go, Loopy Loo. And I will link below a video where you can see the whole song. So from weeks 4 through 13, pronouns with hand motions that go along with the tune Here We Go, Loopy Loo. Super fun way. The hand motions go along with the song, so it's just simple and helps the kids remember. And this week we are doing objective pronouns. So what I will do is just introduce this week's pronouns. So we've got me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them. And then I will have us start at the beginning of the song and sing through the nominative pronouns and then sing through this week's objective pronouns. So it goes like this. And we start kind of swaying like this. So we'll all stand up. And again, you can watch my video of the whole song. Nominative pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Nominative pronouns, objective pronouns, me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them. Objective pronouns. And then we'll stop. And next week we'll continue with our song. But we're just going to sing that several times and in different kinds of voices. So sing it quietly, we'll sing it loudly, we'll sing it with our eyes closed, we'll sing it backwards. There's so many different things you could do. Also, you could use these silly voice cards, which are really fun. I will link them below. They're free to download, and I printed and laminated mine and use them pretty much every week as a tutor. So you can definitely use them. I'll link below where you can get them, but like dinosaur voice, soft voice, snake voice, high-pitched, there's a bunch of them. So just a really fun tool, and you can use that for any of the memory work. So that is English. All right, next for timeline, I have my timeline cards that I get from the Classical Conversations bookstore and my dollar store letters. I like to put these letters on them. I put the first letter of each event just because I have younger kids that I'm tutoring, and it helps them because not all of them can read. So what I'm going to do this week is I will put 7 pieces of painter's tape up on the wall like I've done in the past. I'm not going to hide the cards this time. What I'm going to do is first just sing through this week's part of the timeline song with them. So I'll have them all stand up and I'll say, okay, we're going to just sing through this week's part of our timeline song, and I will do the motions as I sing it and invite them to try to do them with me. And we will do that all together a couple times. So I will go ahead and go over the motions now, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do after that. All right, for our motions this week, we're going to start with Judah falls to Babylon. So I'm going to make a J with my pinky. So Judah falls to Babylon. I'm going to make an L like law. Judah falls to Babylon, and then temple destroyed. I'm going to put my thumb in between my first two fingers, and put it on my fist. So temple, and then destroyed. I'm going to start with my hands apart, go together, and then apart again. So temple destroyed. And then Babylon, so I'm going to make my law again. Babylon falls to Persia. I'm going to make a P like that. So Babylon falls to Persia. Jews return and rebuild the temple. And then you can do temple again, like that. And then Roman Republic, we're going to make an R, so one R and then another R. Roman Republic. And then Golden Age of Greece, I'm going to put my hand like that and go down like that. Golden Age of Greece. And then Peloponnesian Wars. So I'm going to put my fingers like that and go down my nose. Peloponnesian. And then wars. This is our signal for war, which we use a lot. And then Persia, I'm going to make that P again. Persia falls. And then to Alexander the Great, I'm going to make an A. Alexander the Great, like that. So I will do that with the kids. Again, I'll do it one more time, kind of to the tune. So Judah falls to Babylon. Temple destroyed. Babylon falls to Persia. Jews return and rebuild the temple. Roman Republic, Golden Age of Greece, Peloponnesian Wars. Persia falls to Alexander the Great. So we'll do that a couple times, and then what I will do is have two kids go out into the hall, and I'll tell them that while they're out, we're going to hide two timeline cards, and they have to find them based on how loud or soft we're singing the song. Now, you definitely have to lead this from the get-go, depending on the age of your kids, but they should catch on, and hopefully some of them will join you too. But the kids love this. I did this game a lot last year. You can make it last as long or short as you want. You could split your class up into two groups if you want it to take less time. But usually I find it works well if I have two kids go out in the hall and close the door so they can't see where we're hiding the cards. Then I have the other kids in the room find a spot where they can hide two timeline cards, the first two, together. And then I tell them that we're going to sing the song, and we're going to raise our voices really loud if the kids are close and go a lot quieter if the kids are far away from the hiding spot to help them find them. So then we tell the two kids that were in the hall to come on in, and then we start singing. So if they're far away from where the cards are hidden, we'll say, Judah falls to Babylon. And as they get closer, temple destroyed. And then, depending on their age, you can help them or not help them depending on what they need. But regardless of how much help they need, when I've done this with my little abecedarians, they absolutely love it. And I can imagine the older the kids get, the more fun it would even be, because they can sing along more. They get the concept of singing louder, softer. And, you just need to make sure you know it well so you can lead it well, and then the kids can join in with you. So really fun. Obviously, I try to let all the kids have a turn. That is timeline. For math this week, we are skip counting the 9s and the 10s. So first we will start with the 9s, and I will show the kids the 9s on my tutor board as I sing to them the song to the tune Do Lord, and it goes like this. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81, and 90, 99, 108, 117, 126, 135. And then I will give my kids a movement card. So these I also have for free. You can download and print them out, laminate them, and just give each kid a different card. And we will sing the 9s as we do the different movements. So jump side to side, or hop, or high knees, or slither like a snake. So just lots of fun ones. Or you could also just say, we're going to sing the 9s as we're lying down. We're going to sing the 9s as we're sitting on the ground. We're going to sing them as we're kneeling. We're going to sing them as we're sitting in chairs. Just change up what we're doing as we're singing them. Then for the 10s, we're going to chant them, and I'm going to have the kids give each other double high fives as we do that. So I'll have them turn to the kid on their left, and they will do it, and then the kid on their right, and then I will have them stand up and find a different kid to double high five. And then, you could, as the tutor, go around and double high five each kid as you sing them. Lots of different fun options. So the 10s, I'm not going to sing it for you because you know that, but it just goes 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. So that is math this week. For history this week, we are learning about the 100 Years' War and Joan of Arc. So what I will do is I will first sing the history sentence to the kids. So it's super catchy. It goes like this. During the 100 Years' War, Joan of Arc and King Charles VII led the French to defeat the English at the Siege of Orleans. In the late 1340s, fleas on rats carried the plague which killed 1 out of 3 Europeans. In the late 1340s, fleas on rats carried the plague which killed 1 out of 3 Europeans. So I will sing it to them. I will tell them to listen really carefully. And then I'm going to throw some silly words in. And if they hear a silly word, they've got to raise their hand and tell me what the correct word should be. So, for example, I will start out, during the 100 Years' War. Tears? No. Years. Okay. And then after I do the first silly word, I go back and do it correctly until the next silly word. So, during the 100 Years' War, Joan of Arc and, is it Bark? No, it should, Joan of Arc. Okay. So then again, I go back and do it correctly until the next silly word. So that's one of the reasons I really like this, is because they're hearing it correctly a lot of times and they just love it. This has never gotten old for me, and I've done it a lot for history. The silly words I use are tears instead of years, bark instead of arc, pizza instead of the seventh, so Charles the Pizza instead of Charles the Seventh, and then Oreos instead of Orleans, hats instead of rats, and unicorns instead of Europeans at the very end. So 1 out of 3 unicorns instead of 1 out of 3 Europeans. So then after that, then we'll sing it normally all together, and I might have them get up and dance a little bit since it's super catchy, or just kind of walk or dance around the room, and that is history. For science this week, we are learning about some cycles in nature. So first I'll show the kids on my tutor board, we've got water cycle, carbon and oxygen cycle, and then nitrogen cycle. And I will teach them a song to the tune Skip to My Lou, and it goes like this. What are some cycles in nature? Water cycle, carbon and oxygen cycle, nitrogen cycle. And then I have these little dice that have dry erase on each side, which is awesome. So I wrote water cycle on one side, nitrogen cycle on the other, carbon and oxygen cycle. And then I also wrote a funny motion on one side, silly voice on one side, I can't find it, here it is, and sing song on one side. So what I'm going to do is I printed out these different cards that just have a little picture and then part of the cycle. So like water cycle, a little water droplet for condensation and collection, carbon and oxygen cycle, a woman breathing for humans, animals using oxygen, nitrogen cycle, nitrogen from waste, has a picture of a cow. So I'm just going to spread these out on the table, and I'm going to have the kids take turns rolling this dice. So say they roll it and say they get nitrogen cycle. So then they're going to look on the table and find one of the cards that says nitrogen cycle. Here's one. So then we're all going to look at it together. Nitrogen return to the ground. I'm not going to explain these in depth, but I just want the kids to get a visual of some parts of each cycle. And then up on the wall, I have a whiteboard that I'm just going to divide into 3 parts. I'll have, water cycle on one column, carbon and oxygen cycle on the second column, and then nitrogen on the third column. And this is where you could use a parent to help. I'll have the kid go up and stick this on a piece of painter's tape up in the correct column. So basically my goal with this is to give the kids a visual and just, give them something to do and make it fun while we're learning this memory work. So then I'll have another kid roll and say they roll carbon and oxygen cycle. So they'll look on the table, they'll find a card that says that, they'll go put that on the wall in the appropriate column. Now if they roll funny motion, then we're going to sing our whole song together doing a funny motion, and they get to come up with what that is. So maybe that's jumping up and down, or maybe that's, twirling or whatever within reason. They get to come up with it. And then we'll sing our song again to the tune, Skip to My Lou. So, what are some cycles in nature? Water cycle, etc. But we'll do our funny motion. Same with silly voice. If they roll silly voice, then they get to pick a silly voice that we use, and we all sing our song together in that voice. So the idea behind this is to obviously practice the memory work a lot with them, but also give them a visual and just have a fun activity that doesn't take long at all that they can do too. You could also use these at home if you don't want to use them tutoring, just a nice visual to give your kids of each cycle. I will talk about it at the end too, but I do have a fun game you can play at home with your kids that has them go through the different cycles as well. So I'll show that at the end of my video, but that is science. For Latin this week, I am bringing in Baldy. If you've watched my videos before, you've seen him, but I love this puppet, especially for cycle 3. I don't even know where I got him. I'm sure you could find a Baldy little puppet somewhere. Actually, I do know. I got it from Estes Park because we go there a lot. But any puppet is great. Puppets are awesome with little kids. So what I will do is we will sit in a circle and we're going to play Duck, Duck, Goose for Latin this week. So for Latin, we're learning the first conjugation endings future tense. And so I will show the kids on my board and sing the little song. So it goes like this. Bo bis bit, bimis bitis bunt. Bo bis bit, bimis bitis bunt. First conjugation, future tense, future tense. As we're in a circle, I'll have somebody go first and they get to hold Baldy here and they get to gently tap on each child's head as we all sing the endings. And I will encourage them, you just tap on one child's head for each ending. So like, bo, bis, bit, bimis, bitis, bunt. And they'll keep going around until we finish the song. And then once we finish, so again, towards the end, it will be first conjugation, future tense, future tense. So once we get to the end, then whoever's head they tap on last gets to now hold the puppet. And then that kid who was just holding the puppet takes their place. And then we do it again and they tap on each person's head. So I will just do it enough times so everybody gets a chance to hold Baldy, and that's how we will do Latin this week. For review this week, we're going to play a fun game called Stop, Drop, Act Like a Rock. And this game, the kids in my group just love. It's like their favorite review game, probably. And it's super easy. There's no prep. So it's great. We played it a lot of weeks last year, and it was really fun. So all you do is, I like to go out in the hallway in the church where we meet, but wherever you have room. And I tell everybody to dance around, and then I say stop, and everybody stops. And then I say drop, everybody drops to the ground. And then I say act like a rock, and then they have to cover their head, close their eyes, get as close to the ground as possible, and act like a rock and be really still. Then I walk around quietly, and I pick a kid to tap on their back, but I say nobody looks up when I tap on your back until I tell you to get up. So it's kind of like heads up, 7 up. So then I say, okay, everybody open their eyes, or rocks wake up. And so they all wake up and I say, whose back did I tap on? And then, Johnny raises his hand and I say, okay, Johnny, I get to ask you a review question. So, I like to just bring my foundations guide in and just look back and say, what was one of the types of consumers we learned about? Do you remember that? And since they're younger kids, if he doesn't know, I'll have anybody help. What was one of the types of consumers? Carnivore, yay! So, and then we'll do it again, and I'll ask another review question, and so you can just do it as long or short as you want, but super fun, super easy. Like I said, no prep, so you should definitely try it. Okay, now like I promised, I want to show you the free games that you can download to use with your kids this week at home. I just make these because my kids love games. I love playing games with my kids, and so I have fun creating them, and it's fun when you can play a game and practice the memory work at the same time. So this game is called Journey Through the Cycles in Nature. It's just a little board game that you can print off. And then I made these cards to go with it. So basically, the children will switch off drawing a card. It has a simple question about one of the cycles. and so depending on the age of your kids, you can help them. There's multiple choice, so if they're a little bit older, you could cover up the multiple choice, make it a little bit harder, but then it has the answer on the back of the card. And so if your kids are really little, you could just kind of go over it with them. You don't have to like quiz them, but then they get to move forward however many spaces it says on the card if they get it right. So like this one says, if correct, move 3. So they would start at start and then move 3 spaces, and there's some fun things that happen along the board too. So it just helps kids dive a little bit deeper into the science this week. And then also I have my Latin bingo game. If you didn't see that last week, this reviews all the Latin endings for the whole year in Cycle 2. So great resource, fun game you can play with your kids anytime, just to review how those sound. It has little pictures to help kids know how to sound out the ending, and calling cards to go with the game. I have 7 different bingo boards, so super fun. Also, this game is in my shop because it took a lot more time for me to make, but it is a game with all the 75 pronouns that kids learn in Cycle 2 starting at week 4 through week 13. So I have little cards that kids can play memory with or just use as a reference flashcard type thing, but has the type of pronoun, a little picture to go with a sentence using the pronoun. And I have those kind of cards for all the pronouns. So this is like an indefinite pronoun, everything. And I also have a set of those cards with a blank. So if your kids are a little bit older, then they can fill the blank in with the correct pronoun. And so I have cards that just have the pronoun words, so they could try to match the correct pronoun with the correct blank. So just a fun resource to play with your kids however you want. Again, my kids like the game memory, so we'll probably do that, but lots of different options. You could just match them. You could sort them. The different types of pronouns are in different colors, so you could sort all the indefinite pronouns together, all the reflexive pronouns, all the interrogative pronouns, etc. Just a great way to learn those, make it a little bit more fun. And I will link below in the description where you can get the free games, where you can get the pronoun cards, everything I've mentioned in this video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope these ideas were helpful for you. Again, you can mix, use some of them as a tutor, use some of them at home, however you feel like works best. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you are enjoying my videos, please subscribe to my channel. I'm posting at least 1 video per week with tutor ideas and also other homeschooling help tips. Also check out my Instagram. I like to post what I do with my kids in our homeschool throughout the week and just spontaneous resources I end up making and want to share. And check out my blog too, where I have my resource library where you can get these free games, and also my shop where you can get some of the resources I mentioned at the beginning of my video. And I have lots of blog posts relating to homeschooling and healthy recipes we're making, things like that. So check it out. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.